Hey everybody, tonight we're going to learn how to make not a pumpkin pie, a pie crust, and we're going to make
chicken pot pie.
A chicken pot pie. Sorry about that. So this is a recipe I've used for a long time. I love it. It's really simple. It's one I found on a church recipe book, and it's great. It's really flaky and it's super easy to make. So starting out, we're just going to take 2 cups of flour. And then we're going to add a cup of shortening, and I always like to use Crisco. You can use the off-brand, but the texture is different, and I just don't love it. So I think the pie turns out better if you use the Crisco. It just seems to have a better texture, and I think it works better. So once you put the flour and the shortening in the bowl, then I like to take, and I have these knives that I use. It's a pie knife or a crust knife or a shortening knife. I don't know what everybody calls them, but I use it to cut up the shortening and mix it in with the flour. You can use a fork if you don't have a knife. It works just fine, but I like the knife, and it works really good. So you just cut it up until the shortening is really small and fine and pretty well blended. You want everything kind of mixed together. You want it all crumbly and no real flour, just no real big things of flour left in your bowl. You want it all kind of crumbly and looking like crumbles, just like that. And then when you get done with that, you take half cup of cold water, and you pour it into the mixture, and then you mix that in, and you just keep mixing it up. And sometimes I end up getting in there with my hands to help bring it together and tighten it up, and eventually we want to mix it into a ball. And you just take and get it kind of patted together. And it's kind of sticky, as you can see, but it shouldn't be too sticky. If it's too sticky, add a little more, touch a bit more flour in it, and make it into a ball, just like this. So you have a nice little ball. I put it in the bowl, and I put towel on it for just a few minutes. While I'm waiting for that to set up, or I don't know what you call it, but it has to set for about a few minutes. And I made the filling for the pie. I used 2 cans of creamy chicken soup, I use a package of the mixed vegetables. I like to use bird's eye. And then we took a rotisserie chicken from Costco and we cut it up, and I used probably a cup and a half of chicken and put in there. And then I also cut up some canned potatoes into some small chunks, and then a cup of milk. And that's our filling that is gonna go in our pie. And there's the oven, it's ready to go. So I forgot to get a pie pan. And for a chicken pot pie, I like to use a little deeper dish. So it has a little more room for it. So let this sit for a few minutes. And it's kind of dried a little bit, and it's not as sticky. So now we're ready to roll it out. And almost fell down. So the big thing is to make sure that you put a lot of flour on your table, and don't be afraid to flour up the pie crust. It's not going to hurt anything unless you go crazy. But I always like to take some pie crust. I split it in half, and I kind of pat it out with my hands. And then I roll it out. Get big enough, thin enough that you can get it in your pie pan. And then you just take the pie crust and just fold it up like that. Bring your pie plate in and lay it in there. Kind of having some technical difficulties tonight. If you need a little bit extra, I didn't get it quite in the pan just right, so I'm going to put a little more, cut a little off here and there to make it go up to the top, so when I put the top on, I have something to tie it in with. Just like that. And I'll trim off the other excess when I'm done. Now I'm going to pour my mixture in. I don't know how much this is gonna fill up this time. It's probably about as full as I want it. I'm going to move my pie over to the side. Make sure your hands are dry. And I'm going to do the second pie crust for the top. I can't stress enough how much flour you need to throw down and put on this pie crust, because it does get really sticky. And I'm kind of rushing things because I'm videoing. But I think if you let it sit for the 10 minutes in the bowl, it helps a lot. So I'm going to peel it up again. And I had a lot of trouble when I first started doing this recipe with it sticking, and I was trying to use a spatula to get it up. But use a lot of flour, you won't regret it. So now I'm going to put the top pie crust on there. And then I'm just gonna pinch the crusts together. I'm just gonna keep working it. And you can make it prettier, but I'm not always pretty, but it's delicious. And then I always like to take and cut a little slit in the top to let the steam out. And there's my pie. I'm going to put it in the oven for 350 degrees. And I believe it's supposed to be like 30 minutes, but just till the crust is flaky brown. And we'll see you in 30 minutes. All right, we got our pie and it's all done. We just pulled it out of the oven. Look how beautiful it is. The crust is nice and crispy. Should we cut it? I'm gonna cut it. My lovely assistant says we should cut it and have some. So we're gonna do that right now. Excuse me. Look at that delicious crust. So flaky and delicious. Ooh, hot. I always make a mess out of the first one to pull out.